God told me to do nothing.
See, but you understand, you're doing something. Other people that need to do something, because this is ridiculous, y'all watching. Us watching this shit. You feel me? So he wants me to do nothing, but he's not saying he doesn't want Justin to use his brain and everybody to use their brains and to figure out whatever.
They'll be doing these freak offs and it'll be Puff and Justin in the room with multiple women's, closed doors and lots of music and lots of drugs.
We just celebrating life. You know what I'm saying? It's Friday. And it's Friday.
I had prime Puff.
What I saw as soon as I opened the door was Aubrey sprawled out on a leather couch, looking very inebriated. I didn't drink like that at all. At this time, I don't drink at all. It's never been an issue with me. She was naked from the bottom half, and she had something over her top. Puff Daddy was penetrating in her vagina, and there was another stocky, light-skinned man with his penis in her mouth.
Justin and Puff go in the bathroom together. Moments later, I hear boom, boom, 2 shots. I'm like, yo. So I'm going through sounds. I'm like, this can't be, it's like, okay, maybe I hit one of those gunshots on a keypad. I see Justin and Puff walk out. I opened the door and he was in there just bleeding. He was bleeding.
I remember I came home one day and Shine had an AK-47 with the bullet jammed in it. And he was like, I can't get this bullet out. And I was like, yo, if you can't get the bullet out, you shouldn't be having your hands on the gun.
I do not own a gun. I do not carry a gun. The charges against me are 100% false. I had nothing to do with a shooting in this club.
Sean Puffy Combs is now facing 15 years in prison for his involvement in a shootout.
Swag on walk that way.
It was like, how bad do you want it? What are you willing to do?
Hell, walking to Brooklyn. I ain't never do this, and I'm from New York.
And no matter what you go through, you gotta be willing to take it, because this is what it's gonna be, being an artist.
A large strawberry cheesecake with extra strawberries and an apple pie. This is for Diddy.
It's absolute power and control. You belittle someone to make them live in fear of you. You can control a person once you break them down like that.
Come on, finish up strong. Come on, man.
These kids were young, they were naive, they were fans. Instead of being someone that they look up to, he was like just running them in the ground.
I hear banging at my door.
Go chop, chop.
It's Puff. His pants are split open like a maniac, froth in the side of his mouth. He has a gun, and he's mad as hell. Why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Kid Cudi. And I was like, oh, that's Cassie's friend. And he's like, yeah, f all this. Go get dressed. We're gonna go f him. And I'm like, I don't want to do that.
I should go to the prosecutor. This guy committed another crime. And I would do the same thing with go to the prosecutor. Really put a package together. Here's what he said.
You shouldn't. Rosanna, well, all of us know celebrities like P. Diddy get dragged through the mud all the time, but this latest allegation so shocking. Would you believe they're accusing P. Diddy of murder? P. Diddy's been sued a bunch of times before, but
in my life, to think that when you are championing someone and taking care of them and you have their back and you are the holder of came at a great cost, and the way he handled me was to erase me.
Cassie Ventura released a statement saying, I am so scared that his first actions will be swift retribution.
The reckoning facing Sean Diddy Combs now centers on what many consider music's greatest unsolved crime. This episode dives into the allegations tying him to the murder of the Notorious B.I.G. The moment the Netflix documentary debuted, Diddy's team issued a statement, calling it a shameful hit piece. They argued that Netflix relied on stolen, unauthorized footage Combs had been gathering since he was 19 to document his life. According to his camp, Netflix improperly used this material and pulled private moments, including talks with his attorneys, completely out of context. The statement insists that no rights to this footage were ever granted to Netflix or any other party, making its use both improper and misleading.
His team's response, and what they had to say about the documentary the second it came out. This is the statement. Netflix's so-called documentary is a shameful hit piece. Today's GMA teaser confirms that Netflix relied on stolen footage that was never authorized for release. As Netflix and CEO Ted Sarandos know, Mr. Combs has been amassing footage since he was 19 to tell his own story in his own way. It is fundamentally unfair and illegal for Netflix to misappropriate that work. Netflix is plainly desperate to sensationalize every minute of Mr. Combs' life without regard for truth in order to capitalize on a never-ending media frenzy. If Netflix cared about the truth or about Mr. Combs' legal rights, it would not be ripping private footage out of context, including conversations with his lawyers that were never intended for public viewing. No rights in that material were ever transferred to Netflix or any third party.
They also condemned Netflix for bringing in Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, labeling him a long-standing rival with a track record of speaking harshly about Combs. According to Diddy's team, this choice felt like a personal betrayal, particularly because Combs held Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos in high regard and deeply admired Clarence Avant. They believed Netflix would approach the project fairly. Instead, they felt blindsided by the platform giving creative influence to someone they view as openly N.
It is equally staggering that Netflix handed creative control to Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, a longtime adversary with personal vendetta who has spent too much time slandering Mr. Combs. Beyond the legal issues, this is a personal breach of trust. Mr. Combs has long respected Ted Sarandos and admired the legacy of Clarence Avant. For Netflix to give his life story to someone who has publicly attacked him for decades feels like an unnecessary and deeply personal affront. At minimum, he expected fairness from people he respected.
In its response, Netflix stated that the accusations are entirely false. The company clarified that the documentary has no ties to any previous conversations with Sean Combs and that every piece of footage used, especially the material connected to his indictment, was obtained lawfully. Netflix further noted that although 50 Cent serves as an executive producer, he does not dictate the creative direction, and no individuals featured in the documentary received payment for their participation.
Netflix then responded to what Diddy and his team had to say, and they said this: the claims being made about Sean Combs' The Reckoning are false. The project has no ties to any past conversations between Sean Combs and Netflix. The footage of Combs leading up to his indictment and arrest were legally obtained. This is not a hit piece or an act of retribution. Curtis Jackson is an executive producer but does not have creative control. No one was paid to participate.
According to Andy Senor, Netflix made a legal error by airing footage of Diddy speaking with his attorney. He pointed out that even the lawyer himself said those conversations should never have been recorded. By releasing these confidential discussions, the documentary didn't merely violate attorney-client privilege, it exposed it on a global level. Senor argues that this decision blatantly weakens Diddy's legal standing, effectively delivering potential evidence straight into the hands of prosecutors. The outcome, he warns, is a severe legal vulnerability, one that could hurt Combs both in the court of public opinion and in an actual courtroom.
The guy that was shooting it was supposed to get paid by Diddy, never got paid, but because the contract was never filled out, there was another person under there that owned the rights to the footage, and they were able to it's like a extra layer of defense. That person that was under the person shooting was able to, release the footage or sell it or whatever the case may be. So they obtained, then of course Netflix and, Alexandria and then Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, they all obtained the footage, and that's how it got in the documentary. It's really through Diddy's doing.
Furthermore, Senor emphasized that the documentary's most serious misstep was allowing cameras to capture privileged legal conversations. He explained that while a lawyer's written notes are protected, the moment a camera enters those discussions, confidentiality is immediately compromised. This breach turns private legal strategy into potential public evidence, stripping away a core legal safeguard. According to Senor, every confidential exchange shown on camera can now be examined not only by viewers, but may also be subpoenaed and added to the formal court record. The outcome, he warns, is a major legal exposure, one that risks turning Combs' own documented moments into a significant liability.
Despite Diddy's own legal protests, Netflix did release its 4-part docuseries, Sean Combs' The Reckoning. Some of this footage is truly shocking. Not that it tells us stuff we didn't know, but that it's footage with him with his own lawyer sitting there, Mark Agnifilo, Costco lawyer himself. There's literally a part where they're like, hey, you shouldn't be recording this. There's also footage from Lil Rod, months of them recording together and so many voice notes. And it all paints a pretty bad picture of Sean Combs, including voice calls with KK herself. How did Netflix get all this? How are they not being sued? And what other big bombshells were revealed?
From Ari Melber's perspective, Diddy is portrayed as someone who mastered living a double life. Publicly, he appeared as the industry's shiny suit mogul, a figure of wealth, influence, and hip-hop dominance. Yet the documentary suggests that this polished persona was a crafted facade, one that allegedly concealed a pattern of manipulation and control. According to the film, his greatest strategic misstep was recording so much of his private world, assuming his power would always protect him. The newly surfaced footage does not change the established record. Rather, it pulls back the curtain, revealing, in the filmmaker's view, the fragile structure of alleged deception that may have existed beneath the glamour.
Here's, from my understanding of my own case in filming a documentary about my case, from what I've gathered from my own lawyers, I'm not a lawyer, but they're like, you can't film any of this legal stuff. When we're talking in court, etc., you can't film it. You lose the privilege, right, of attorney-client privilege, because then now someone else is there, there's a record, there's something else. That can be used, like notes and stuff, fine, but documenting a video with a third-party cameraman, etc., that's where things get blurry. If you're in a phone call with your lawyer and someone else is on, that can lose the privilege. Right?
Additionally, Ari Melber drew a striking historical comparison, linking Diddy's alleged unraveling to the downfall of President Richard Nixon. He noted that both figures, at the peak of their authority, systematically created private recordings, Nixon with his covert Oval Office tapes, and Diddy with extensive personal video archives. Melber argued that each believed these collections would serve as tools of influence, leverage to deter critics and preserve their legacies.
From that evidence and a lot of other things over the years, you have this duality to Diddy, where on the one hand, he was one of the biggest figures in hip-hop, both as an executive, a producer, and later as a rapper. And this documentary kind of goes through and looks at that history, but argues that he was always playing this game in his life and in his career. The documentary has a lot of evidence and argues that basically, while he looks worse now, and the more recent case kind of showed people what he's like, that there was always this trail of problems for him. And yet in public, he was supposed to be the shiny suit, happy guy. Jay Electronica has this song, Shiny Suit Theory. Everybody who follows hip hop remembers Puffy and Mace and the whole larger than life vibe and the party vibe. And that he was selling that as fundamentally kind of upbeat. He wasn't initially positioning himself as like a pure gangster, negative rapper.
According to his analysis, both men misread the limits of their own power. Neither anticipated a moment when their authority might fade enough for those recordings to be used against them. The outcomes, he suggested, echo one another. Nixon lost the presidency, and Combs now faces what Melber describes as a potential collapse of his empire. His conclusion was blunt. When you chronicle your own alleged wrongdoing, you are not crafting protection. You are forging the very chains that may one day restrain you.
It's pretty extraordinary when you see powerful people make self-incriminating videos or evidence. Before there even was casual video, there was surveillance, audio. The entire Nixon presidency fell apart, and he was the only president to resign under pressure because of Watergate, which boiled down to audio tape that he made. Diddy also made the same mistake as Nixon, having the kind of power where when you make any tape, audio, video, or whatever, or other evidence, you think you're going to control it. So you think you will use it as needed, or for your ends, or maybe against some people selectively, right? You say, I got this tape on this conversation, whatever, and you don't think you could ever lose enough power to lose control of the video. Control, a big theme for Diddy.
Meanwhile, Morad Morali cautioned that Diddy's most serious threat may now lie within the prison system itself. He claimed that a long-standing belief in certain hip-hop circles, one he personally subscribes to, is that Diddy was involved in the killings of both Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. According to Morali, in the harsh and unforgiving environment of prison, such allegations can become dangerous currency. He suggested that inmates driven by a mix of perceived street justice, status, and opportunity might view Diddy as a potential target in retaliation for those alleged acts. In such a setting, Morali argued, even unverified rumors can evolve into immediate and unpredictable threats, turning incarceration into something not only punitive, but potentially life-threatening.
And I also think that Diddy's time in prison is probably going to be pretty dangerous now, because a lot of people confidently, me included, believe that he offed Tupac and Biggie. People in prison beginning to have these conversations, whispers about Diddy, are probably going to try and do something to him, you know, knowing that he probably killed.
But Lauren La Roa confronted one of hip-hop's most enduring conspiracy theories head-on: the claim that Diddy and the Notorious B.I.G. were caught in a heated contract dispute in the days before Biggie's death. He rejected this outright, calling it entirely untrue. La Roa explained that Biggie's landmark album Life After Death was already finished, and because of its massive commercial success, Biggie had completely recouped his advances. As a result, there were no negotiations underway, and no need for any, at the time of his murder. According to La Roa, discussions only restarted after Biggie passed away, strictly to oversee the rollout of his posthumous material. His concluding message was firm: the contract was already settled. There was no financial tension, no last-minute conflict, just a devastating loss that, he argued, people should stop distorting with unfounded speculation.
The contract conversation. So there is a claim in the doc, and this has been a claim that's been circulating for some time, that right before Biggie's passing, there was an issue with contract negotiations between Diddy and Biggie Smalls. He says that that is completely not true as well. He says that Life After Death was already done, so there was no contract negotiations happening. He says based on the sales and of the records and how everything was moving, Biggie had already recouped. So at that point, there was nothing to be talked about. But they did go back into a negotiation because they put out more music following the death of Biggie Smalls, and the conversation they had then was just about how that would happen and, you know, how splits would be. But that whole conversation around the contract and there being an issue with that as well, there's nothing to talk about. He says the contract was the contract and people just need to leave it at that.
Shifting focus to 50 Cent's own words, he asserted that the documentary's impact comes from its dedication to raw, unfiltered truth. He acknowledged that Diddy might find certain segments uncomfortable or even infuriating to watch, yet insisted that the footage stands as its own evidence, undeniable and self-explanatory. 50 Cent highlighted the widespread public and critical response, with many already praising it as one of the most powerful documentaries in recent memory, largely because it prioritizes documented facts over speculation. His central point was unmistakable. While Diddy may challenge the interpretation, he cannot contest the reality of his actions as captured on film.
Sean Combs watches this, what do you think he's going to feel?
Like, wow, this is amazing. I think he's going to say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time. Because you'll see people saying that. I mean, he may feel a different way about pieces and bits of it, but he knows the truth. I think he'll see the truth in it.
50 Cent also clarified that his involvement is not motivated by personal grudges. He explained that any past issues, including remarks from Diddy that once made him uncomfortable, are not why he is speaking out now. For him, this moment is about accountability, not settling old scores. He emphasized that the current situation transcends past disagreements and urged people not to lose sight of the bigger story by fixating on personal history.
How do you respond to people who say that it's more about the disdain that you have for Sean Combs than it is for giving the victims a platform?
What they consider a pre-existing beef, right, for 20 years, right, is me being uncomfortable with him suggesting that he takes me shopping, or I looked at it like it was like a tester. Like, maybe you'll come play with me type of thing, right? And it's not personal.
He suggested that 50 Cent hasn't simply stumbled into this moment. Rather, he has been waiting years for the opportunity to settle old scores. Rosenberg pointed to their shared history, including the backlash to 50's early track How to Rob, which provoked industry anger and fueled conflicts that nearly put him in danger. According to Rosenberg, 50 now sees himself in a position of power and security, finally untouchable. From this vantage point, calling out former adversaries is more than commentary. It is a long-awaited, consequence-free form of payback, and he appears to be savoring every moment of it.
Oh, I think Diddy been holding on to this, looking for an opportunity to come for Diddy, since 50 put out How to Rob early.
I mean, yes, listen.
Because the whole industry, remember, the whole industry at that time, if you old enough, of a certain age, you remember that they was mad at 50 for, talking like that in that song. Yeah. And they tried to really squeeze bro out of the game. And then obviously the streets and other things, shenanigans was going on, which almost ended 50's life. But then he returned. No, your man, no, I'm telling you. And it's all fun and game. It's all funny and fun and games to him now. He don't care.
At the end of the day, these stories, rumors, and reactions highlight one thing. The truth in this industry is rarely straightforward. Everyone has their own version, their own motive, and their own narrative to protect. Whether the claims are accurate, exaggerated, or misinterpreted, time has a way of revealing what people try to conceal. As more voices emerge, the bigger picture gradually comes into focus. The story isn't over, it's still unfolding. If you're following this journey with us, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for the next update.